The desert was endless, a sea of golden sand stretching as far as the eye could see. The sun burned bright in the sky, and the air shimmered with heat. A lone human man walked slowly across the dry land. His boots sank into the soft sand with every step. His shirt was dusty, and his throat was dry. He had been traveling for days, searching for nothing but a way home. Then, suddenly, he stopped. In the distance, he saw movement. At first, he thought it was only a mirage. The desert often played tricks on tired eyes. But this time, it was real. A figure was standing still, waiting for him. As he came closer, his heart began to beat faster. The figure was not human. Her skin was blue like the sky at twilight. Her hair was black, long and flowing like a river of shadows. She stood barefoot in the sand, her simple brown dress torn and dirty. Her eyes were large and shining, filled with fear and hope at the same time. The man froze. He had seen many strange things in his life, but never a woman like this. She pressed her hands together in front of her chest, as if praying. Then she fell to her knees. The wind blew softly, carrying her trembling voice to him. "Please, marry me," she whispered. The man could not believe what he heard. Of all the things she could have asked for, food, water, or even help, she asked him for marriage. He took a step back, his mind racing. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was firm but cautious. "And why are you asking me this?" The woman lifted her head. Her eyes shone with desperation. "I have no choice," she said. "You are human. You are my only hope." The words echoed in his ears. The desert around them felt even more silent than before. He looked at her closely. She seemed poor, weak, and broken. But there was something powerful behind her pain, something hidden. "Why me?" he asked again. His voice was sharper now. Why would an alien beg a man she does not know to marry her? She lowered her gaze to the sand. Her shoulders trembled. She was afraid to answer. But after a long silence, she spoke. "If you do?" "Not, I will be taken, they will find me, and then everything will be lost." The man frowned. He did not understand who was chasing her. Why was she so desperate? He wanted to walk away, but his heart would not let him. There was something in her voice, something that told him her story was real. The desert wind picked up, blowing sand between them. The man narrowed his eyes and scanned the horizon. For a moment, he thought he saw shadows moving far away, figures watching from the rocks, but when he blinked, they were gone. His instincts told him he was not safe here. But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He stepped closer, looking down at the blue-skinned woman. "Tell me," he said slowly, "what danger are you running from?" Her lips trembled as she answered. Her voice was soft but filled with sorrow. "A man of power, an overlord. He wants me as his bride. If I refuse, he will destroy my people. But if I return, my life is no longer mine. That is why I ran. That is why I beg you, please. You must help me. Marry me, and I will be free. My people will be free." The human felt a chill despite the burning sun. He was only a traveler, not a hero. He had no army, no weapons, and no reason to fight for a stranger. But now, standing before this alien woman, he felt as if destiny had placed him here for a reason. He studied her eyes. They were not just desperate, they were strong, carrying the weight of an entire world. For a moment, he said nothing. His mind was torn between fear and compassion. He wanted to turn away and leave her to her fate, but deep inside, something told him he could not. The desert stretched silent around them, as if holding its breath. Maybe, he thought, this is more than chance. The alien woman stayed on her knees. Her hands still pressed together, the sand clung to her dress, and her long hair swayed in the wind. She looked fragile. Yet her spirit shone bright, like fire hidden under ash. The human side, his heart was heavy. He had no answer yet, but he knew one thing for sure. His life was no longer simple. From this moment, everything would change. The woman looked up again, her eyes searching his. "Please." She whispered one more time, "Do not leave me alone." The man turned his gaze toward the endless horizon. He did not know if he could trust her. He did not know if she spoke the truth, but he felt the weight of choice pressing down on him, and far away, on the edge of the desert, the shadows moved again, watching, waiting. The story of the human and the poor alien woman had only just begun. The desert grew colder as the sun began to sink lower in the sky. Long shadows stretched across the sand, and the silence became heavier. The man stood facing the alien woman, his mind trapped between fear and curiosity. She was still on her knees, her hands pressed together, her blue skin glowing faintly in the fading light. He wanted to believe her, but every instinct told him not to. Humans survived in strange lands because they asked questions, because they doubted. And right now, doubt was all he had. "You asked me to marry you," he said slowly, his voice steady. "But you give me no reason. Why would a stranger risk his life for someone he does not know?" The woman's lips parted, but no answer came. She lowered her head, her long black hair falling forward like a curtain. At last she whispered, "Because you are human. And humans are different." The man frowned. The words struck him. They carried meaning, but he could not yet understand it. Different? He folded his arms, his eyes scanned the desert once again. He could not shake the feeling that someone or something was watching them. He had lived long enough to trust his instincts, and his instincts told him they were not alone. "Stand up," he said firmly. She obeyed slowly, rising to her feet. Her frame was thin, fragile almost, but there was strength hidden in her movements. He stepped closer, close enough to see the faint scars along her wrists, scars that told of chains, or worse. She pulled her hands away as if ashamed. But he had already seen. "You've been running for a long time," he said quietly. She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "And now you think I am your escape." Her tears fell onto the sand, leaving tiny dark marks. She looked up, her gaze piercing his. "Not just escape," she said. "Hope." The man turned away. His heart beat harder, but his mind resisted. Hope. He was no hero. He was no savior. He was just a wanderer in the desert. "Hope is dangerous," he muttered. "Hope can kill faster than a sword." The alien woman stepped forward. Her voice was trembling but strong. "Do you think I do not know this? I watched my people lose everything. I saw homes burn. I heard children cry. Hope was the only thing left. And now it stands in front of me." Wearing the face of a human, the words struck him like a blade. He wanted to answer, but the desert itself seemed to silence him. For a moment they stood in stillness, the dying sun painting the sky in red and gold. The desert stretched around them like an ocean, endless and merciless. The man took a deep breath. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Why me? Why not one of your own?" Her eyes darkened. She lifted her hands, pointing to the horizon. "Because they are coming. And when they arrive, you will understand." He followed her gaze, squinting into the distance. At first he saw nothing, only the shimmering heat. But then, faintly, he caught sight of moving shapes, dark figures marching across the sand. Their silhouettes grew larger with every moment. The human's heart sank. Whoever they were coming for her. And if he stayed near her, they were also coming for him. "You brought them to me," he said, anger flashing in his eyes. "No," she cried, shaking her head. "They were already hunting me. You were only caught in my path." Her voice cracked. With fear, she took a step closer, reaching for his hand. But he pulled away. His mind raced. He could run now, leave her to her fate. Save his own life. It would be the simplest choice, the smartest choice, but something inside him refused. His heart pounded, and he felt a strange fire building in his chest. He had seen fear before. But her fear was different. It was not only for herself, it was for others. Her people, her tribe, maybe even for him. The shadows on the horizon grew closer. Dust rose into the sky as the marchers advanced. The sound of faint drums carried through the wind. The man clenched his fists. His doubt was heavy. But so was the weight of the moment. He had to choose. "Tell me," he demanded, his voice sharp. "Why would a human save you when no one else will?" The alien woman's voice broke into a cry. "'Cause humans fight for more than survival. They fight for love, for freedom, for each other. That is why I beg you. That is why only you can help me." The words sank deep into his heart. They were simple, but they burned with truth. The marching shadows drew nearer. The desert air vibrated with tension. The human man's doubts still raged inside him. But now, something stronger was rising. He looked into her eyes one last time. Eyes that carried both pain and fire. And though his lips stayed silent, his heart already knew this meeting was no accident. This was the beginning of something greater. The desert wind howled as if warning them both. The hunters were coming, and time was running out. The desert night began to fall. The sun slipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in shades of purple and gold. The air grew cooler, and the shadows on the horizon moved closer. The human man and the alien woman stood together, both tense, both uncertain of what would happen next. The man's mind was heavy with questions. He needed answers before he made any choice. He turned to the woman, his voice low but sharp. "If I am to understand, you must tell me everything. Who are you, and why are they chasing you?" The woman trembled. Her eyes were fixed on the dark shapes marching toward them. But slowly she nodded. "You deserve the truth," she said softly. "If you are to risk your life, you must know why." She lowered herself to the sand, sitting. With her knees folded, her long black hair flowed over her shoulders. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the fading light. She looked tired, as if the weight of her memories was heavier than the desert itself. "I was born in the city of Vera," she began. Her voice was soft, almost like a song. "It was once the heart of my people, tall towers of crystal, streets filled with laughter, gardens shining under twin moons. We were proud, and we believed our peace would last forever." Her hands curled into fists. But peace is fragile. One day the warlord came. He was not of our tribe. He was from beyond the mountains. His armies were made of fire and steel. He crushed city after city, and finally he came to Vera. The human listened in silence. He could almost see the images her words painted. Shining towers falling, fires sweeping through the streets, cries echoing in the night. The warlord demanded our surrender. She continued. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. But our council refused. They fought, brave and strong, but they could not stop him. Our warriors fell. Our walls crumbled. My people were broken. And then he gave his final command. She paused, her voice shaking. He demanded me. The man's eyes narrowed. He did not understand. Why you? She lowered her head, shame filling her voice. Because I am the daughter of the last chieftain of Vera. He wanted to claim me as his bride. He believed that if I stood at his side, my people would bow to him. He wanted to use me as a symbol. A crown of his victory, the human felt a chill in his chest. The pieces began to fit together. She was not just a poor woman. She was the last link to her people's pride, a living heir. And if you refused? He asked. His voice was low, almost a growl. Her eyes burned with pain. Then he would destroy the rest of us, the old, the children, the weak who still hide in the ruins. He promised their lives would end unless I obeyed, I could not. I would. Not so I ran. The human stepped back, running a hand through his dusty hair. He had heard many stories of war, but this one felt different. It was not only about armies and battles. It was about survival, honor, and impossible choices. The woman looked at him again. I traveled for many nights, hiding in caves, drinking from rivers, running from his hunters. They chase me across deserts and mountains. They will not stop until they catch me. Her voice broke, and for the first time, tears spilled freely down her cheeks. I am alone. My people whisper my name in prayers, but they cannot save me. Only you can. If I marry you, he cannot claim me. If I join with a human, it will break his hold. My people will see that his power is nothing but fear. They will rise again. The human's chest tightened. Her words were heavy. They carried sorrow, but also hope. Why me? He asked again, more gently this time, why a human? She reached out, her fingers trembling. She touched his hand, her blue skin cool against his warmth. Because humans are different, she whispered. You fight not only with strength, but with heart. You fight for what is right, even when you are weak. I have seen it. I have heard the stories. You are our last chance. For a moment, the man could not speak. He felt the fire of her belief burning stronger than the sun. She was asking him not just for protection, not just for marriage, but for something far greater. She was asking him to stand between her people and destruction. Behind them, the sound of marching grew louder. The hunters were closing in. Their shadows loomed like monsters against the starlit sky. The man looked into her eyes. He saw fear there, but also courage, a courage that reminded him of battles he had fought long ago, battles that left scars no one could see. He clenched his fists. His doubts still whispered, telling him to run, to leave her, to save himself. But his heart beat louder, telling him something else, telling him that this moment was destiny. The woman lowered her voice. I know it is much to ask. I know it is unfair. But if you leave me now, my people will vanish forever. The desert wind blew cold, carrying the sound of drums and steel. The man turned his head toward the horizon, watching the enemy approach. He had no answer yet, but deep inside, something had already changed. For the first time in years, he felt that he was not wandering without purpose. He was standing at the edge of something greater than himself, and though the night was dark, a spark of resolve began to burn within him. The poor alien woman had told her story, and now the human had to decide whether to become part of it. The night desert was alive with whispers. The wind moved across the dunes, carrying the faint sound of drums and boots. The hunters were close. The human man stood silent, his jaw tight, his eyes locked on the horizon where dark figures marched. Steadily closer, behind him, the alien woman waited, her hands still clasped as if in prayer. Her story now hung heavy in the air between them. Her past was no longer a mystery. He understood who she was, the last daughter of a fallen people, a symbol of hope, a target of a ruthless warlord. And now? She had placed her future in his hands. His heart pounded, his mind shouted warnings. It told him to run, to survive, to leave her behind. He was only one man, alone in the desert. He had no weapons, no army, no reason to fight. But when he looked into her eyes, he saw something that silenced those thoughts. He saw belief. She believed in him even when he doubted himself. She believed a human could do what no one else could. Still, the choice tore at him. He turned away from her, pacing in the sand, his boots crunching softly with each step. You ask too much, he muttered. Do you even understand what you are asking? You want me to fight a warlord, to stand against armies. You want me to risk my life for people I have never met. Her voice was soft, but firm. I want you to fight for what is right, not for me alone, but for all who still live in fear. The Words stung because deep down he knew they were true. He had always believed humans were survivors, but also fighters, not because they loved war, but because they loved freedom. Yet freedom came with a cost. He stopped walking and looked at her again. Her face was lit by the faint light of the stars. Her tears had dried, but her expression carried strength. He realized she was not begging anymore. She was standing with dignity, offering him a choice. If he walked away, she would accept her fate, but if he stayed, the world would never be the same again. The sound of marching grew louder. The hunters were close enough that he could see the faint glint of their armor in the moonlight. His instincts screamed at him, "Run now, while you can." But his heart refused. He remembered battles from his past, small ones, forgotten ones. He had seen men die because no one stood for them. He had seen villages burn because no one resisted, and he had sworn never to let it happen again. Perhaps this was why fate had brought him here. Perhaps this woman's plea was not an accident, but a call he was meant to hear. The alien woman stepped closer, her voice trembling but full of courage. "If you choose me, you choose more than a marriage. You choose to stand between light and darkness. You choose to give my people hope." Her words cut through the night like fire. The human's chest rose and fell as he took a deep breath. He looked once more at the horizon. The hunters were fanning out, forming a wide line. They were preparing to surround. He turned back to her. "If I say yes, the warlord will never stop. He will send more men, more armies. He will hunt us until the end of time." She nodded slowly. "Yes, he will. But if you say no, then I am already lost. My people are lost. And the warlord will grow stronger until no one can stop him." The desert air grew colder. The human clenched his fists. He felt the weight of both choices. One led to safety, but also to regret. The other led to danger, but also to meaning. He stared at her, searching her eyes for any sign of lies, but all he found was truth. And then, deep inside, something shifted. The fear was still there, but it was no longer stronger than the fire. The doubt was still there, but it no longer controlled him. What replaced it was resolve. He took a step closer to her. His voice was steady, calm, but powerful. "If I choose you, I choose war. I choose to fight. I choose to stand against him." Her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes widened, but she did not speak. She only listened. The man's gaze hardened. "I will not run. I will not leave you. But if we do this, we do it together. And if I stand for you, then you must stand for me. No more hiding. No more running. We fight." For the first time, a smile touched her lips, faint but full of hope. She bowed her head slightly. "Then I will fight beside you." The decision was made. The human turned toward the horizon, watching as the first line of hunters broke free of the darkness. Their armor gleamed. Their weapons caught the moonlight. They were not shadows anymore. They were here. The woman moved to his side, her eyes fixed on the enemy. Her body trembled, but her voice was strong. "They will try to take me alive. Do not let them." The man nodded. His doubts were gone, replaced with cold determination. He had chosen, and now he would stand by it. The desert night shook with the sound of approaching war. The hunters cried out in alien tongues, raising their weapons high. The ground seemed to vibrate with their march. The human stood tall, a lone figure against the darkness. His heart burned with fire. The poor alien woman had begged him once, but now she no longer begged. She stood beside him, ready, and together they faced the coming storm. The desert was no longer silent. The ground trembled under heavy boots. The night air shook with the sound of drums and metallic armor. The hunters had come from the shadows of the dunes. A line of soldiers emerged, their bodies tall and armored. In plates of dark steel, strange symbols glowed across their chests. And their helmets hid their faces. Their weapons gleamed like blades carved from starlight. At the front rode a beast, a giant creature with 4 legs and scales black as stone. Its eyes glowed red, and its breath came out like smoke. Upon its back sat the commander, tall and cruel. His armor was heavier than the rest, marked with sharp spikes. His helmet had horns curving upward. He raised a hand, and the line of hunters stopped. The human man and the alien woman stood on the sand. A small hill behind them. There was no shelter, no wall, no escape. Only the open desert. The commander's voice echoed, deep and harsh. "Daughter of Vera," he called. "Your running ends tonight. Come willingly, and your punishment will be less. Refuse. And you will watch him die before your eyes." The woman trembled, but did not step forward. She stood tall beside the human. Her jaw tight. Her voice was steady, though fear shone in her eyes. "I will never return to you." She shouted, "My life is not yours to claim." The commander laughed, the sound cruel and sharp. He pointed at the human. "And you, wanderer, do you think you can protect her? You are only flesh and bone, a fragile animal. You do not belong in this war." The man said nothing. His eyes stayed locked on the enemy. His fists were clenched. His heart beat fast. Kay did not step back. The commander's hand fell, and the hunters moved forward, weapons lifted, sand spraying under their boots. The woman whispered quickly, "They want me alive. They will try to take me. But they will kill you without hesitation." The man gave a short nod. His eyes scanned the desert. He had no gun, no sword, but he had something else. His mind, his will, his instincts. The hunters fanned out. Forming a half circle, they wanted to trap them, to cut off every path. The man leaned closer to the woman, his voice low. "Stay behind me, and no matter what happens, do not give up. Do you understand?" She nodded, her eyes wide, her hands trembling. The first hunter lunged forward. Swinging a long spear, the human stepped aside, quick and sharp. Sand burst under his boots as he moved. He grabbed the shaft of the spear and yanked. The alien stumbled. Off balance, in one motion, the man drove his elbow into the hunter's chest. The armor cracked, and the soldier fell to the sand. The others hissed, their voices like serpents. The human felt a rush of fire inside him. He had fought before. He remembered how his body moved with speed, his heart with courage. Another hunter came, blade raised. The man dropped low, kicking sand into the alien's face. In that brief moment of confusion, he snatched the weapon from the fallen soldier and swung it wide. The blade hummed, glowing with strange energy. It cut across the hunter's armor. Sparks flying. The alien woman gasped. Her eyes widened at the sight. She had begged him for protection. But now she saw something more. She saw him fighting, not like a soldier, but like a storm. The commander raised his hand again. The hunters paused, regrouping, their red eyes fixed on the human. "You dare." The commander growled. His voice rolled across the desert. "You think you can stand against us? You are nothing." The man pointed the stolen weapon toward him. His voice was calm but strong. "I am human, and I will not let you take her." The hunters hissed louder, their circle tightening. The commander laughed again. But there was anger in his tone now. "Then you will die as all humans die, weak and forgotten." The man's grip tightened on the weapon. His breath came steady. His fear was still there, but it no longer controlled him. He had chosen, and now he would fight. The hunters surged again, 3 at once, their blades slashing, their armor shining under the moon. The man met them head-on. His blade clashed with theirs. Sparks lit the dark like tiny stars. He twisted, dodged, struck, his movements raw but filled with willpower. One hunter fell, then another. The third tried to grab the alien woman, but she screamed and struck him with a rock from the ground. The blow was small, but it gave the human enough time to drive his blade into the soldier's chest. The circle broke. The hunters stepped back, their movements cautious now. The commander narrowed his eyes. His grip on the reins of the beast tightened. He leaned forward, his voice sharp, interesting. A human with fire. I see now why she chose you. But fire burns fast, and fire always dies. The woman stepped beside the man, her voice rising. No, you do not understand. Humans fight not only with fire, they fight with heart. That is what you will never break, the commander snarled. His beast stamping the ground, then your hearts will be crushed together. The night wind blew harder, carrying the tension like a storm about to break. The human man stood ready, his blade glowing. The alien woman at his side. The hunter shifted, preparing to attack again. The desert was about to drown in blood and fire, and yet, deep in his chest, the man felt something stronger than fear. Resolve. The poor alien woman had begged him once, but now she was no longer begging now. She was standing beside him, ready to defy the darkness, and the human knew. This was only the beginning of their fight. The desert night burned with chaos. The hunters circled once more, their armor glowing faintly in the moonlight, their eyes like fire, their blades sharp and ready. The commander raised his hand high, and the beast beneath him roared, a deep, thunderous sound that shook the sand. The human stood firm, his stolen blade glowing in his hands. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Sweat rolled down his brow. His body ached, but his spirit blazed. The alien woman stood just behind him, her eyes locked on him with fear and wonder. The commander's voice echoed across the dunes. You fight like a child, human, clumsy and wild, but you cannot win. You are alone, and we are many. The man did not answer. He tightened his grip, his eyes sharp. In his mind, he was already planning, already thinking. He knew he could not win by strength alone. Humans never did. Humans survived with something else. The hunters charged again, three rushing forward with blades raised. The man braced himself, but at the last second he moved sideways, kicking sand into their eyes. The desert wind carried the dust into their helmets, blinding them. He struck. One with the blade slammed his shoulder into another, and the third stumbled against the dunes. The woman gasped. She saw it. He did not only fight with force, he used the land itself, the desert, the sand, the night. The commander snarled, "Tricks! That is all you have. Tricks and dust." The man lifted his blade, his voice calm. Sometimes dust is enough. The hunters regrouped, circling tighter. But now they were cautious. They had seen how he fought, how he used every advantage. The man bent low, pressing his hand to the sand. His mind raced. He remembered old lessons from his past, memories of survival, of battles where cleverness was worth more than steel. He dug his heel into the sand, marking a line. He stepped back toward the woman and whispered, "Stay behind me if they cross. This line, do not move." She nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I trust you." The hunters moved again. Faster this time, their blades sang in the night air. The man waited, his heart pounded like a drum. And then he dropped low, swinging his blade not at their bodies, but at the sand itself. The energy cut through the ground, sending a wave of dust and fire upward. The hunters staggered, blinded again, coughing in rage. The man leaped forward, striking the first in the chest, grabbing the weapon of the second, and slamming it against the third. Their bodies crashed to the sand in a heap. The alien woman's eyes widened, her heart raced. She whispered to herself, "Humans. They fight with more than weapons. They fight with their whole spirit." The commander's beast roared again, shaking the air. The commander stood tall, his voice furious. "Enough games. Kill him. Bring me the woman." The hunters obeyed. All at once they moved together, a storm of steel and fire. Their blades flashed, their steps thundered. The man's chest tightened. He knew he could not fight them all head-on. But fear did not rule him. He turned his eyes to the dunes around them, to the shifting sand, to the rocks nearby. The desert itself was his ally. Move. He shouted to the woman, pulling her with him toward a cluster of jagged rocks. The hunters followed, quick and hungry, but as the human reached the rocks, he pushed her behind him and slammed his blade against the stone. The rock cracked, breaking apart, spilling a small landslide of sand and stone down the slope. The hunters stumbled, their formation broken. He attacked, fast and wild, striking at their weaknesses, dodging their blades. His movements were not perfect, not polished, but they were desperate, alive, filled with will, and will was stronger than fear. One hunter fell, then another. The woman watched with her hands to her mouth. She could not believe it. He was only one man, but he fought as if he carried the strength of 100. The commander's eyes burned red from behind his horned helmet. He pulled a massive weapon from his back, a black spear glowing with fire. He pointed it at the man, his voice booming. "You think you are strong because of your tricks, because of your courage, but humans are weak. And weakness always dies." The human raised his blade, his voice calm, steady. "You are wrong. Humans are strong because we do not give up. We fight even when there is no hope. That is our power, and that is why you will lose." The commander roared, leaping from his beast. The ground shook as he landed. His spear clashed with the man's. Blade sparks lit the night. Each strike echoed like thunder. The alien woman cried out, but she did not run. She watched with wide eyes. The fight was more than a battle of weapons. It was a battle of belief, of spirit. The man moved with speed, dodging, striking, using every ounce of strength left in him. The commander pressed harder, his spear heavy and deadly, but the human never stopped, never stepped back. His heart burned, his will unbroken. At last, with a desperate cry, the man twisted, driving his blade deep into the sand. The ground split. A burst of fire and dust exploding upward. The commander staggered, blinded, and the human struck. His blade slammed into the commander's chest, sparks flying. The beast roared in rage. The hunters cried out. But the commander fell to one knee. His voice shook with disbelief. "Impossible. A human. Defeating me." The man stood over him, breathing hard, his body bruised, his arms heavy, but his eyes fierce. "Humans are special," he said, his voice like stone, "not because we are the strongest, but because we never stop." Fighting, the alien woman stepped forward, tears shining in her eyes. Her heart overflowed with hope. The hunters froze, watching, uncertain, their commander defeated, their will shaken. The desert fell silent again. Only the wind moved, carrying the truth across the sand. Humans were different, and tonight the universe had seen why. The desert was quiet again. The commander knelt in the sand, his black armor cracked, his spear broken beside him. The hunters stood frozen, their glowing eyes shifting uncertainly between their fallen leader and the human who had defeated him. The alien woman stood close to the man, her chest rising and falling with quick breaths. Her eyes were wide with awe. She had begged him to save her, and he had done more than that. He had faced the impossible and won. The commander's voice broke the silence, low and filled with rage. "This is not the end, human," he growled. Blood spilled from his mouth, glowing faintly in the moonlight. "You may have one tonight. But the warlord will not forgive this. He will come. He will burn the skies themselves to claim what is his. The man did not step back. His blade was still raised. Glowing faintly in his hand, his voice was calm but firm. Then let him come. I will be ready, the hunters hissed angrily, but none of them moved. Their commander's fall had shaken them. Their courage was broken. The beast that carried him roared once, then lowered its head, as if even it felt defeat. The alien woman's voice rose, strong for the first time. Hear me. She shouted at the hunters, her voice carried across the dunes. You see now, he is human, and yet he stands against your master. He fights not with numbers, not with armies, but with heart, and that is why you will never break us. Some of the hunters shifted uneasily. Their blades lowered slightly. Their eyes flickered with doubt. The commander roared, trying to rise, but his body failed him. His strength was gone. With a final glare, he signaled the retreat. The hunters hissed again, but they obeyed. Slowly, they stepped back into the shadows, their shapes fading into the dunes. Their drums silent, the desert became still. The only sound was the wind, soft and cold. The man lowered his blade at last. His body trembled with exhaustion. His knees felt weak. He nearly collapsed, but the woman rushed forward, catching him. Her arms held him up. Her eyes filled with tears. You saved me, she whispered. You saved us. He shook his head weakly. Not yet, he said. His voice was rough. This was only one fight. The warlord will not stop. He will send more, and we cannot fight him alone. She pressed her forehead to his shoulder. Her tears wet the dust on his shirt. Then we will not be alone, she whispered. You will not fight for me only. You will fight for all my people. And when they see what you have done, they will rise. The man closed his eyes. Her words were heavy but true. He had made his choice. And now there was no turning back. The stars shone brightly above them. The desert stretched endless and silent. But deep in the silence was the echo of destiny. The alien woman lifted her face. Her voice soft, when I begged you to marry me. I did not know if you would hear my cry, but now I see why it had to be you. Humans are not like us. Humans fight even when hope is gone. That is why you are special. That is why I chose you. The man met her gaze. For a moment, he saw not an alien, not a stranger, but someone who shared the same fire, the same will to live free. He wanted to speak. But before he could, the ground shook. A deep rumble rolled across the desert. The stars seemed to tremble in the sky. The woman froze, her eyes wide. No, she whispered. It cannot be already. The man turned, his breath caught in his throat. From beyond the dunes, the darkness shifted. At first, it seemed like a storm. Black clouds rolling across the horizon, but then he saw it, a massive shape rising into the sky. It was a ship, larger than anything he had ever seen. Its hull was black and silver, its lights red like burning eyes. It blotted out the stars as it descended. The hunters had not retreated in defeat. They had retreated. Because something greater was coming, the woman's voice trembled. It is his ship. The warlord himself, the man's chest tightened. He had barely survived against hunters, and now the warlord, the one who had burned cities, crushed armies, and enslaved tribes, was here. The ground quaked as the ship lowered. Waves of sand rolled outward. The air shook with a deep hum. The warlord's shadow fell across the desert, stretching toward them. The man lifted his blade again, his body weak, but his spirit unbroken, his voice steady. Then we face him. The woman's eyes filled with both fear and hope. She reached for his hand, their fingers locking together. Then we face him together, above them. The ship's gates opened, light poured out. A deep, booming voice echoed across the dunes, filled with power and rage. Human. The warlord roared, "You dare steal what is mine? You dare defy me?" The man held the woman's hand tighter. His voice rose, strong and fearless. "She was never yours, and neither is her people. If you want to take her, you will have to. Go through me." The desert wind carried his words into the night. A single man standing against a monster. A single choice standing against an empire. The alien woman looked at him, tears shining. And in that moment, she knew the story of the poor alien woman and the human had only just begun. The warlord's shadow grew larger. His ship roared like thunder. And the desert prepared to witness the battle that would decide the fate of two worlds.